All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. My name is Stu, the Mattress Doctor, and we started this Zoom today to talk about managing a team. And before Gavin comes on, I think he's dealing with a customer at the moment. I just wanted to talk a little bit about somebody had asked me last week about how to go about hiring a virtual assistant. What does what does that particular person do for me? Why is that important, and how does that get weight off of my plate? So I have an employee. His name is Fred. He works out of the Philippines, and every morning he works 6 days a week for about 4 to 5 hours. He will log in to two different Facebook accounts, and he kind of just checks through my marketplace messages and some other messages like that. And it's mostly because it's very repetitive. When you're doing marketplace stuff, like Jeff had mentioned the other day, how kind of crazy some of the people can be on that. And so by having somebody else help me with that, it doesn't drive me as nuts. And the way that I do that is I use Windows PC, so I have like a sticky notes, and I have like all of my copy and paste responses on there. So he's kind of just like copy and pasted things that I've already written. So he's kind of just acting like I would be. And whenever he has any like unique questions, he'll just message me. And then if it's something new, we'll kind of just like add it to like his list. So that way he's learning and we're not answering the same questions over and over and over. Because for the most part, whenever we're doing any kind of marketplace, I feel like most of the time my job is just to try to get them into the store. Um, I usually kind of give like a little bit of general information. Some stuff that I don't do is I don't send out photos and prices. You're going to get asked that all the time. That to me is just kind of like a waste of time. Um, and so I usually don't, give out that kind of information because that could kind of like take forever. Um, but I have him. Um, he'll comment on certain things for me through my business, and when you do that, it actually helps you to keep going in the algorithm. So I'll have him do different things like that. Like I like to comment on everybody's birthdays, like on Facebook. He does that for me as well. We haven't quite gotten to this yet, but I'll have him kind of start going through some of my email and like, deleting things like spam, or, we've all got those vendor newsletters that you get once a week that are, let's face it, most of us don't read, things like that, because we always, see the memes that are like, oh, I went on vacation, came back to 8,000 emails. Well, like, is that really, like a good use of your time? And frankly, it's not. Anybody that's getting paid anywhere from $5 to $15 an hour could be doing that for you. And so I use him to just try to take off some things like that off of my plate. The way that I train him, and this kind of goes back to, I kind of develop like these SOPs, which are kind of like a protocol on how to do each task. And the way that I personally did mine was I shot a video on each task. I actually used my Zoom account. I have like a pro account, so I can record anything that I'm zooming in. And I just shared my screen and I showed myself doing the act, doing the action. And I kind of just like broke it down into like these little baby steps, almost like I would be explaining it, to a 5-year-old. And so I've got a video of me doing it, me explaining every little thing I'm doing, because also, you want them to understand. And so I'll do just like one thing at a time as far as like making a post, and that will be one training video. And so I try to label each one as something totally different, because I don't want to give him like an hour-long training video. And one thing that this helps is if it's a shorter video, he can go back and watch it without spending a lot of time. Um, if for whatever reason I have to let him go, or he quits on me, I've already have all this done for the next person. It's easy to just add some instruction and be like, "Hey, Fred, when you log in this morning, um, go to the Google Drive link." I can just drop him a link, and I can have like all of my new SOP and instructions on what he needs to do for the new task all in there to where I'm not having to like message him back and forth. Obviously, unless he doesn't understand. Pretty soon, I'm going to have him helping me list some things on my website because that is that's something that um I have it's kind of fallen a little bit to the wayside. So I've got a few things that need to be updated that aren't on there. Um and I'm slowly kind of like adding these little tasks, here and there for him. And we'll just eventually get to the point to where he's working full time, and I'll probably end up hiring like a different VA to do like video editing, and that'll be mostly used for like social media reels and other things like that as well. Because a lot of the time, as an owner, um, we usually don't have time to learn that, and you can find somebody pretty cheap. But yeah, I pay my guy $5 an hour, Jerry, and I use this site. It's called like Remittedly, and it comes like right out of my bank account for work. And so like he's only getting paid like I don't know 125 a week, something like that. So I mean, like it's a win-win, and a lot of these people, you can train them to do almost any kind of task like that. Um, One thing that I do a little bit differently with that is I have a dedicated laptop that I bought off a marketplace for like it was either like 200 or 300 bucks, and I logged into all of the stuff that I wanted him to see, and I just have him remotely log into it. And what that does is it gives me full control to where like he can only see what I want him to see. He doesn't have my passwords. If something goes wrong, all I got to do is turn the thing off and he can't get back to it. So that's definitely something that I found worked for me. I know a couple other people have done it a little bit differently, but I like having that kind of control um, to where I can just like turn it off if something goes wrong. Um, as far as the post, Jerry, what's successful? Uh, I would say the best answer for me is I try to post like almost everything that I have for sale. Like I'll post a 399 headboard that might be in black. I'll post $1,000 pillow top. I'll post just the other week I posted a display puffy that I had listed at like 500 bucks off. I ended up selling a Royal and Cali King off of that post. Wasn't even the one that I posted. It just drew that person in off of that. Now that one's kind of rare. I wouldn't say I get a lot of traffic on that. But I find that anything unique is worth posting on Marketplace. If you're doing something like that, like I sell day beds, I also sell like dining room tables and things like that. So I will post those as well. Um, I just find that like sometimes I'll get somebody that will come in off the mattress post, but more often than not, I find that people are looking for the headboard or the bed first and then the mattress. And because I sell both, why not sell them both? And that's kind of why I do it both ways. Um, and then I'm also doing bedroom sets as well. Those can be a little bit more tedious. You'll get asked a million questions when it comes to that. You'll probably get the most responses off of the bedroom sets. And so that one takes a little bit of time. That was probably the biggest thing why I needed the VA, because it was almost giving me a headache dealing with that many people. So that's why I have them helping 6 days a week. Um, let's see here. Now we got Gavin. Gavin, I was just talking about using VAs. So if you wanted to start talking about what's your hiring process like, Gavin? I know you had told me one time that whenever you go to hire, you're usually trying to hire multiple people, and they're almost kind of like, I guess I would say like kind of like fighting for the job. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can't believe you remember that. I appreciate you having me on. Um, yeah, so I hire a little bit untraditionally, and I think that's one thing that helps separate the way I do things and the way I find talent compared to what people traditionally do. Um, what I have heard from the industry and what people have told me in the past, and what I've seen and even been involved in, is, it's, hey, I got your resume on Indeed. I went over your resume. I like some of the things you've done or things that you've written, and I would love to have you down for an interview on next Tuesday at 2 p.m. I'm sure we don't have to do a show of hands, but I'm sure majority that are listening have something almost similar. And I get why you guys do that, because your idea and philosophy is to um, have this professional, look and appeal. But the reality is, if these people are hungry and they're hustlers, they don't really care about that anyways. And those are the people that you're looking for. So the way that I do it is a pretty simple system. I'll take all of the Indeeds. I never look at a resume. Because quite frankly, I really don't, pardon my French, don't give a shit what they did prior to this, because I'm only looking for really two things, and I'll get to those here in a minute. So I'll just get their information. I'll either try to call or email, and I schedule them all for one day. Um, so let's just say Tuesday at noon, I will schedule every interview I have for that same exact time. And there's a couple of reasons why I do that. One, I'm not trying to waste my time. Two, if they're not willing to drop what they're doing to come work for me, then most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, they're not that hungry anyways. And I need hungry people. Um, Additionally, once I get to my store, or and that's usually where I have the hold the interviews, is at the store. Um, there's a couple things that they first see. The one, they see a ton of cars in the parking lot, so it looks like we're really busy. Which, not all of us are slammed. We can't all be Jeffs on here, where we have these crazy mattress stores that are pumping out huge volume. But most of us have maybe one or two customers in, and now it looks like the store's super busy. So they're going to be a little more inclined to want to work for you. Number two, when they get into the store, they're going to automatically, if the right candidate's there, going to start sizing up their competition on who is going to be the one that's competing essentially in the interview process for this job. Because I tell them, hey, we have one spot available, and obviously there's a lot of people applying for this job. So that I'm building the urgency on why they need to jump at this opportunity, by having a bunch of people competing for that job. Then also on the second part of it, they're going to be thinking that the store is really busy when they see all the cars and people in the store, because they don't know who's a customer, who's an applicant. I mean, you can kind of look at it and see, but ultimately, they don't really know. So then I do my interview process. I hand them all applications. I go and take one interview at a time, towards the back of the store. I've had people get up and walk out, and that's fine. They're not the right person for me. And then I've had people sit there and wait. And those ones that are sizing up the competition and that are, looking around the store and trying to see what we have and what we sell and what they're going to sell. Those are the people that automatically I'm eyeing and saying, wow, they're taking an interest, because now when I go to do this interview, they're going to be like, wow, you have this brand, you have a Puffy, you have a Dream Cloud, and I was just reading the information on these, and they're already starting to learn the brands and the products because they want to push, more volume, which is ultimately the reason why you're hiring them, right? You shouldn't be hiring just necessarily for a fill-in spot because you need to go to your kid's t-ball game, right? We're hustlers on this phone, so we're looking for hustlers that are going to be able to drive more business into your business. So that's the whole purpose of hiring. So then after that, you go through your interview process. You should be able to find out in the first 15 seconds whether you like that person or you don't like that person. And it's going by just a couple simple questions. And then additionally, what you should be looking for primarily is going to be attitude. Their attitude is the number one thing that you should be looking for and hunting for. It's not what's on their resume. It's not what school they went to or college. None of that stuff matters. And the reason why I say it doesn't matter is because realistically, if you looked at my resume prior to getting into furniture mattress, 9 times out of 10, you probably wouldn't even hired me. Same thing with maybe Stu and maybe some others that are on this phone. Probably wouldn't have been hired by somebody if they really dug in deep on your resume or called some of your, referrals. Oh yeah, call this person. That was my ex boss from 3 jobs ago. They can refer me. I don't really give a shit because if you're the right person and you have the right attitude, you're going to come in and kill it anyways. So that's one of the big things I look at right away is just their attitude in general. I need a positive, enthusiastic person because you can train all day, but you can't train attitude, right? So anybody can train someone how to sell a white, rectangle, but to get that attitude is really where it goes from. And a good example of that is my store manager here in my store in Florida here. She came in with the most badass, dominant attitude. Like, I'm going to own this shit. I'm the person. You need to hire me. This is why. And she's selling the job to me or selling herself to me. That automatically was like a green flag saying, yes, I need to make a move on this person. Um, what else? So once you bring that person in, obviously you should have some type of sales training system um, because they need to know the basics and it shouldn't just be coming off the top of your head. You need to have a formula of how you're going to make that person successful because now that they're hired, it's your responsibility to make them successful. You hired them on attitude and personality, and they have the right attitude and personality. Now it's your job to give them the keys to success. So you need to make sure that you have those systems in place because that's one of the biggest things is you get to these jobs and you have someone who is a great mattress salesperson and they sit behind the counter, they get out the counter, they go close somebody, and then that person now goes hire someone and they don't know how to train them. So whether you're a big company where you're hiring multiple people and you have managers in place, or whether you're a one store and you have yourself, you are responsible no matter what. Whether it's your manager who's running your store, whether it's you are responsible for that person's success. Now, in my sales system that I have a straight line sales system that I implement with every new person. They get that the day they're hired. I give them that packet and I make them sign their new hire paperwork. And from there, I set a start date. On that start date, when they come in, they better come in 5 minutes early, at least, ready to go. If they're not, I fire them right away. I don't give them any other opportunity. Now, that same amount might sound cutthroat and harsh, but that's just the reality of this business. I run a business, not a charity, and they need to know that from day one. Yes, I'm nice. Yes, I'm supportive. I'm going to pat people on the back, tell them they're doing a great job and everything else. But I also need to set the tone early. And this is one way I set the tone. Additionally, we start in the first page of our straight line sales system. And if they don't get past the first page on the first day, excuse me, then I usually let them go right after that as well. Because just because I hired them and they had a great personality, sometimes it doesn't always click into sales. So um, before I keep going, any questions or anything so far?
I would say
I feel
on
like
like
I'm
that
kind
that
of
first
rambling.
page, if they don't complain, are they aware of that, or is that just like you kind of seeing how they work?
No, the first page is pretty simple. It just talks about what your expectation is, what your dress code is, and the first part of the straight line sales system. We have a 5-step straight line sales system. So you have to get the first part down in the first day. If you can't get the first part down, which is literally just walking up to the customer and doing our meet and greet, if you can't do that on the first day, you're probably not the right person.
Gotcha.
So, Stu, my meet and greet's very simple. We walk up to the customer with our acronym C, which is smile, eye contact, and enthusiasm. And in that first 3 seconds when the customer walks in, they need to be greeted by you, the salesperson. And all you have to say is, "Welcome to Legacy Furniture. Did you need furniture or mattress today?" Do you think you could do that in the first day? over like a 5-hour period.
That sounds like the first like 10 minutes of the day.
Right, exactly. So if they can't get that in the first day, should I keep them? Fuck
No,
no. It's time to go. So,
gotcha.
um, that's that's a pretty it sounds so rudimentary and elementary that it's like, wow, who can't get that? But let's be real. I mean, that's the reality. That's why we're on this phone call right now, is because there are a lot of people out there that can't get that. Um, and that just happens. You're going to run into that issue all the time. So my rule of thumb when hiring is if you call 100 applicants, you might set up 10 interviews, and out of the 10 interviews, you might have one person show up for the interview. So out of 100 calls or 100 applicants, you're most likely lucky to get one person to show up to the interview. So that's why one of the reasons why I do the way that I do things is because I need masses. I need people to go with this formula that I have. And the formula is, like I said, it's really simple. All you have to do is just get a ton of people in there, find who has the best personality, and that's the person that you need to bring in.
Gotcha. No, I've experienced the same thing with Indeed. I think the last time I had hired, I scheduled either 8 or 10 interviews and I had maybe 3 show up, something like that. So
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, that ratio is probably a little bit better
I
than
like
what I
the
get.
Hey Stu.
Yes,
So
sir.
I,
Go ahead.
I like his. How you doing, guys? My name's Alex from Victoria. So I like exactly what he's saying. I think if you allow someone to come in and log the system, just sit there and log it, they will log the hours and do nothing. And I'll say from experience because I heard my little cousin who needs help, and he wants to be an entrepreneur, but he doesn't want to sell. And I said, I don't understand how you want to work, be an entrepreneur, do your own thing, but you can't get it phone number. So all I need the phone number. You know what I'm saying? The meet and greet should be easy. Just get a phone number. Oh, they wanted to talk to you, so they're gonna come back. That doesn't work for me, and I'm with him. If you don't hit it on the nail right there, I think you just allow that to just procrastinate, and they just become a log. I call it, and they'll just sit there and just clock hours.
Yeah,
They're not aggressive.
absolutely. I mean, the easiest way to do it, I just walk up to them and I just say, "Hey, thanks so much. It just isn't going to work out," and you don't have to say anything else, and they'll get up and they'll leave from there. It's a
Yeah,
pretty simple
it's
thing.
pretty quick.
You know, I live by this rule of thumb in firing is, hiring as a guest, firing is knowing. Firing is you now know that that person was not worth your time or money or the investment that you put in. So it's firing is knowing, hiring is always a big guess. A good example is when I opened this location, um, I had a good friend of mine who I thought was a phenomenal salesperson. I've seen him in action, and I brought him into furniture. And you know, I'm sitting here in my mind thinking that, oh, I know that this guy's going to be a rock star, and he's the worst person I had, and I had to fire him. So you know, it doesn't matter who the person is, whether you know him or you don't. That's why my rule of thumb and golden rule has always been you hire on personality, because furniture sales or mattress sales, they're a different breed, they're a different type of sale. It doesn't matter if you've done um, car sales, or if you've done cell phone sales or no sales at all. Everybody comes to a level playing field when it comes to furniture and mattress.
Yeah, I've kind of experienced the whole now I haven't hired any friends, but they'd probably be the last people that I would want to hire. When I first started the business, it was me and my brother. And not only will I probably never have another partner again, but it would never be anybody in my family. I'm even leery about like hiring like my boys when they grow up, unless they're showing like their own interest on their own. Like I don't plan to hire like any of them unless it's like some like little temp summer job or whatnot. I'm kind of against the whole I'm leaving this store for you unless they really want it. That's just how I feel on it because I see so many second, third generations just crash and burn because the kids don't want it. And I don't
Well,
feel like they should
one of
be
the big
paying.
things with that, Stu, is they don't, a lot of those times that happens is they don't work them in the warehouse. They don't make them do the tough jobs, clean toilets, vacuum, do that type of stuff. And, um, I've seen it on both ends where it's worked out really well because they've started at like, the bottom and worked their way up and became very successful. And I've seen where they started right over someone and then they've just crashed and burned because they didn't learn the hard work.
Yeah. No, I know there's definitely some guys in the mattress group that are doing really well that their parents opened it, but they seem like they've been there since like kids and they're willing to do anything. So I feel you on that. But yeah, like when my son's here, he doesn't exactly work for me, but I have him like build beds for me and I'll pay him cash if he wants some extra cash. Um, I just don't feel like I'm gonna put anybody on the sales floor unless they like, express interest in things like that. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think family and friends is difficult.
I see Jerry had a question. He said, if he lets the person go on the first day, is he calling back the people that came into the interview or starting the process over again? So I start the process over again because two reasons why, Jerry. Number one, if I like multiple people, I will hire multiple people. So even if I have one spot available, I'll hire three people if I like three people, and I'll let them fight it out for the spot. So if I have to essentially call back people because the person I like didn't work out, I'm not going to call back the people I already interviewed that never made the cut anyways. I just start the process all over again. I take the ad down and I put a fresh one back up.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
Yep.
So walk me through that. Let's say you hire 3 people today. What are you basing it off? How long are you going until you're
So,
either like letting the first one go? Let's say there's no like huge red flags.
So it then it goes on numbers, right? So
Okay.
the first 2 weeks is solely focused on training. I don't even really let them talk or touch a customer unless I'm like slammed. And then from there, it's going to go into numbers. So after your first 2 weeks, if you've excelled and you know everything you're supposed to know and you're ready to rock and roll on the floor and I can trust you, then no problem. Let's go ahead and put you on the sales floor. I'm obviously going to watch you like a hawk. And I'm going to check out your numbers over the next 2 weeks. It's usually like a 4 week turn. So if they've been able to accomplish everything and their numbers are kicking butt in 4 weeks, after your 2 weeks of training and then your 2 weeks of hitting the floor, then awesome. Then you are, I hit the nail on the head there. But if you're not, then it's time to cut them. You
Is that
can't, you
something you
can't
go
just
over with?
burn payroll dollars.
Is that something you go over with like upon hiring? Like, hey, you're basically gonna have a 4 week eval, or do you specify anything like that? Or
Yeah, of course.
okay,
Once I like a person, I guess this is kind of, let's backtrack a little bit. Once I like a potential new sales rep, right? Two things happen. One, I always tell them, I'm not hiring you to be a salesperson. I'm hiring you to run the show. You're to be a franchise, tag player. You're the guy who I can't let go, and I've got or girl, and I've got to make you, essentially run this business because I'm looking to grow. I don't want it to stay stagnant, right? So I give them that expectation right off the rip. Number two, I tell them, hey, this is how things are going to go for the first 2 weeks. Well, really, for the first week, you're only going to work part-time hours because what we need to do is train you. And I don't want to fill your head with things that you're not going to remember after the first day or first hour. So we're going to work you a few hours, train you. And then in your second week, we'll start pushing you into the full-time hours, do more of a review than actual training because we trained you everything on the first week. And then in week 3, that's your time to get on the floor and start kicking butt. And then by week 4, you should be able to be crushing numbers. And if you're not, then we have to move on from there. And with the right candidate, they're not even going to blink at it because they already know they're going to kick butt.
got you. Hey, for those who may not know you very well, just briefly describe, where you came from, who you worked for, and then with your Tennessee stores and where you're at now.
Yeah. So hold on one second.
Sure. Yeah, Gavin is full furniture. He's in Florida. I forget what part. But he had, I think, 3 stores in Tennessee, and I think he ended up
Okay,
selling
sorry
to
about that,
someone.
guys.
No, go ahead.
I got like a store full of customers, so and a few people
Okay.
that know me, so they were saying hi. Okay, so I started in furniture mattress in 2011, and I started as a salesperson for American Freight. Yes, they used to be great. Now they suck. It's all good. I'll take my beatings. Anybody wants to make fun of me, that's fine. Um, and I worked my way up from there all the way to vice president of sales. My market was over $400 million in retail, and it spanned from Texas to Florida, all the way up to Kansas. So I had a pretty large area, pretty much the entire Southeast that reached out to like Midwest area and Central. So I was over a large area, had a lot of people. I was responsible for hiring all my staff, training my staff, day-to-day operations. I mean, you name it. That's what I was in charge of. And I once the company sold, I decided not to stay with them anymore, because it went private equity, and I don't have to go into too many details. You guys can read the news articles. From there, I just started Legacy in 2020 in Tennessee. I brought on a business partner. Whether you like partners or not, it was not a great fit for me. We opened our 4th location in Ocala, Florida, where I'm originally from, and we decided to split ways. I sold my stake in that company in Tennessee. We had 3 locations in, I think we opened up 3 locations like 8 months, 9 months. We had a pretty fast growing company. But we didn't see eye to eye on some things. So we split ways, and I kept my store down here, and he had those stores up there. I'm not sure if they're operational or not. I think there's like 1 or 2 still open, but yeah, so that's kind of my background. I've done it all from every position. From a executive leadership aspect all the way down to starting as a salesperson. And I'm still a salesperson to this day. Even when I was vice president, I used to say I was a salesperson then. Um, Ultimately, you're no matter what position you hold in your company, owner to salesperson, you are a salesperson. So you're always selling. And that kind of actually I can segue that for you, Steve, or Stu, excuse me. I can segue that into when you found the right person, it is extremely important that you start selling the company and yourself to the applicant. It's one thing I kind of left off, and I forgot to mention it earlier. But anytime I find the right person, I immediately stop the questions with them and I start selling. I am now selling the company to this person on why this is the best fit for them. Now, with that comes expectations. So we kind of mentioned that before. Once they're hired and they're in your door, now it's expectations. So now you're expected to make this person successful. And a lot of that does stem from the fact that you sold them in the interview process. So you have to take a responsibility on that. But anyways, yeah, so that's my background. And that was one more part about the hiring process.
Cool, awesome. I appreciate it. How big is your store? Your current store?
The craziest thing about this is out of my 15 plus years, this is my smallest store I've ever operated. It's 8,000 square feet. We crank. I'll see if I can put my camera on real quick. I don't know how to do this. I'm pretty tech savvy, but I'm not. Oh, here it is. I'm not tech savvy on this Zoom. It won't let me. But yeah, we're 8,000 square feet. It's a small store. We pack a ton of furniture, mattress. I even have hot tubs in here, which is a new venture we've added in. But yeah, it's been awesome. So, but I'm gonna put myself on mute because I actually have to go help this customer real quick, and I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. Hey, Zoo, can I go next real quick? And you know what? My daughter's calling.
Okay, no problem.
I need to get that right quick, but I'll.
Yes, sir.
Give me
Yes,
1
sir.
second.
Jerry, how does your hiring and management process work?
Are you able to hear me? Are you able to hear me or no?
I apologize. I disconnected myself.
Oh, no problem.
So it's okay to do my introduction?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Hey, so guys, my name's Alex Figueroa. I'm from Victoria, Texas. I call it the Crossroads. I have one store. When I opened up, it's right under 2,000 square feet. And a brother year later in Lake Jackson, down there. And I worked for a company for 30 years. I sold furniture. I was in the rent to own game. I call myself the Al Capone of collections because I could collect a lot of money. I ran when I became manager, when my manager left, from one day to the next, she goes, "Here's the keys, my friend. You're the new manager." And that's how I became into the sales. I was thrown in. And when I called my owner, I said, "What do I do?" He says, "Man, just be nice, talk to customers. If they have a problem, ask them 3 solutions and go from there." I took that to heart. I took my store from making 69,000 a year to 2.2 million in 10 years, and I became the $2 million man for almost 25 years. I was the largest growing store in the company in the nation, in the rent home program. Loved what I did until the end of my 30-year career, when the owner got, not the owner, but the, I don't know, my district or regional came in and says, "Hey man, you can't keep any employees." I'd gone through about 100 employees about 8 years ago, right before COVID hit. For some reason, the country trended. People don't want to work. They want it to be on their phones. It was just the most horrifying thing I've ever seen in trying to hire new people to come into work. It didn't work. They kind of blamed it on me. I thought with my 30-year career, I was going to stay there forever. And, God forbid, I decided in 1 hour I was leaving. And I jumped off the cliff without a parachute, opened my own store. I had a friend by the name of Near Shit help me. And he had told me for 25 years that I was doing disjustice to myself by working for somebody else. And I told him I quit. He didn't believe me. He's, "Yeah, your resignation forms. I don't believe you. You've been trying for years." And I did. And he helped me open my store. He said he'd had me open in 14 days. We opened up in 13 to be exact. When I found my location, 13 days. On the 14th day, I started selling and never stopped. Then look back, and I will never go back to W-2 ever.
Awesome, man.
And
That's cool.
that's my story. And I didn't realize how much, I don't know, income or how much money I can make where I was at. Maybe I sold myself short on the dream, but every year I've progressed and progressed, and Larry gives me these crazy numbers that I can do, and I was like, "Yeah, there's no way," and I keep smashing the numbers, and I keep believing it's not real. But I had a phenomenal last year, and I just can't believe what I've done. So I'm excited. I love the group we're in. I just want to keep learning and growing. And I apologize about the sun
Oh no, you're
on there.
good, man. You're good.
Yeah. So I am. I want to introduce myself. My daughter's. We're at the zoo. I'm doing a small thing that I can do with my company. It's the thing I couldn't do when I worked for someone else. And I'm grateful for what I've learned. Y'all's knowledge coming in, helping out. I missed the last Zoom. I apologize for that. I had a customer I couldn't break away, and but I just wanted to tell y'all where I was, what I did, and how I'm here, and I'm loving what I'm doing now.
Cool, man. I appreciate that.
You got it.
Oh yeah, we gotta help each other, and I think the best thing to do is just slow improvement over, trying to gain like crazy growth, because then, eventually we all, if we're seeking the kind of level, and let's say we're like Jeff is at or Gavin is at, like a lot of that is not just going to happen overnight. Jeff's real big on customer service and process and things like that. And I know that I have a lot to work on, to get that kind of reputation that his store has. Jeff, what's your stance on like hiring and things like that? Like, how does that work between you and your partner? Do you have somebody like maybe like a store manager that kind of does that for you, or like how does that work for you guys?
So the best thing that we found that's gotten our best results for delivery is an actual hiring agency, a hiring company. We would use them to hire our next full-time salesperson again, because they do all the screening, all the onboarding, all those initial tests of things. They do all of that, and then they bring us the A candidates, and then we get to pick the A+ candidate. It is a fee, but man, it is so nice to just forego all of that. The frustration of people not showing up. You know, my kid, he got a new gig in construction. Not that he's not qualified, not that he's not a hard worker, but he got the job because he was the only one that showed up. And I feel for that company because I get it. Like, I get it. I feel he would have got it anyway, as does his friend that recommended him, and he'll be working directly under. But it just we skip all of that. I'm so worn out on that. So that's what we do. As far as the onboarding process goes, yeah, you have to have that right. You need to have your SOPs in place. What's their roles? What are they doing? Why are they doing it? We've got probably about a 4 to 6 week run up in total for everything we do, depending on which seat you're filling, till you really kind of fully understand it.
Cool. Yeah, I met somebody who's like a headhunter a couple weeks ago, and I think I'm gonna be using them for my next hire. And because I mean I think, man, when I use Indeed, it was like $400. So like I feel like it can't be that much more to use one of these agencies.
Yeah, I mean, we were $2,500 a seat to
Okay.
fill.
Yeah.
Now they write the ad, they boost it on social media, they list it in all the places, they take in all the applications, they do all the screening.
Hmm.
My time is just worth way more than that. With all the stuff I've got going on, if I'm not doing minimum $500 an hour tasks, I get behind where I want to be, what I'm doing, my goals, the things I have, the income I have to generate to support the people that are in my world, whether that's employees, business partners, charities that I donate to and give to, scholarships that I support. And I know that like that's a big number, but really I try to be in the $1,000 range, but I really shut off the $500 an hour stuff. So, like as an example, I've shared, I think, with a few people. It's probably, I don't know if it's gotten around yet. My father-in-law has terminal brain cancer, and so he's got 6 months at the most. He's probably going to go pretty quick. And I hired a basically like a housekeeper, house manager
Hmm.
to just take over all the household stuff, because I can't do it and keep everything that I've got to keep going. It just allows my wife to focus on her father, focus on our kids, and cleaning up after the dogs and dusting and vacuuming and laundry and getting this kid here, picking him up there, because we got one that's still not quite driving. And it was starting to fall back on me, and that's like $10 an hour stuff, $20 an hour stuff. And I'm like, that's a major missed opportunity. So I nipped that in the bud pretty quick. That person starts next week.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. I know Zach Williams said he had one for a while when he was living in Baton Rouge, and he was like, that was the best $3,000 or whatever a month he spent. And I think they came in for a couple hours every day. And she said she'd make his coffee while he was, working on something
Yeah,
else.
we're not quite at that level.
So
It's
it was just interesting because I hadn't heard of that.
yeah, I
But
don't
yeah,
need a
it sounds
servant.
cool.
It's just, going to pick my kid up after track practice, if I can take managing that off my wife, it's such a relief and it just improves home life. And I don't want to distract the call. I feel like I'm doing that, but the point for all of us is where is your area of focus and are you familiar with that number? Like, what is your dollar per hour number you have to generate?
Yeah,
You
that
know?
reminds me of that book. I think it's Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time.
Mhm.
I think it was on Audible. I had listened to it not all that long ago. Yeah, you probably got it.
Right here.
Yep. That's a good one.
This
You
is
guys need to
largely
pick
the
that
next
up.
up pile. So, yep. Yeah, I mean, it's all that stuff. You have to really be familiar with what's your dollar per hour you got to gross, and then how good are you at keeping money. You got to focus on stuff like that. So, because it's quick to fall behind. I'm one of my charitable gives is scholarships for career center kids, and that's a sizable 5-figure number a year that I've committed to, that I'm paying directly myself.
Mhm.
So I gotta commit to that. So yep.
Cool, appreciate it. Gavin, you back?
Yes, sir. Just got back on. Sorry about that. Had to close a little 5-pounder, It's a little 5-pounder bass.
Nice. Oh. Well, man, I guess we're kind of starting to go to the end of the call. I don't know if you had anything else to add or if anybody had any questions. But yeah, man, we appreciate all the information. Jeff said
Yeah, I
the
just
hiring
quickly went.
service.
Yeah, I just quickly went through it. Obviously I can get into way more detail for you guys. Sorry for being late. I just, we've been busy all day, which is great. I'm not gonna complain about that one bit. So, if you guys ever want to reach me, I'm in all the different mattress groups. I comment pretty frequently. I don't really post, but yeah, I'm sure you can find me on there and message me and be more than happy to take anybody's calls and talk to them about, best practices that work for me and, share ideas with you guys. Once again, I mean, mine isn't exactly perfect foolproof, but it's just a different perspective on how you hire compared to others and traditionally. So, but yeah, if you have any questions, give me a holler on here or off here. It doesn't matter.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate it. Well, thanks everybody for coming. We'll probably do another one in like a couple weeks. Probably pick a different topic, that we hadn't covered, and try to just keep learning from each other.
Thanks for hosting, Stu.
Yeah,
Appreciate
no
it. Taking
problem.
the time.
Yeah, thank you, Stu.
Y'all have a great day.
All right, you too.